Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan untuk kita semua. Selamat pagi Bapak dan Ibu, selamat datang di dalam acara SEA Museum Collaboration and Conference 2025. Selamat datang kami ucapkan kepada yang terhormat Ibu Indira Estianti Nurjadin, selaku Direktur Eksekutif Indonesia Heritage Agency. Selamat pagi Ibu. Yang kami hormati, selamat datang Bapak Budi Trinovari, selamat datang Bapak, selamat pagi selaku Ketua ICOM Indonesia. Yang kami hormati Mrs. Radigunda Fidela Cruz as a Cultural Attached Philippines Embassy of Indonesia. Dan para peserta, narasumber, dan juga fasilitator tamu undangan yang berbahagia. Baik Bapak dan Ibu, selamat datang di hari kedua di SEA Museum Conference Co. Kita langsung menindaklanjuti ke sesi diskusi panel yang pertama yang akan dimoderatori oleh Ibu Nova Farida Lestari selaku Program Chair SEA Museum Co. dengan menghadirkan para panelis hebat diantaranya Ibu Esti Nurjadin selaku Executive Director Indonesia Heritage Agency, Mrs. Ong Zemin from National Gallery of Singapore and Mrs. Jorel Marcos Legaspi from National Museum of the Philippines. Kepada Ibu Nova Farida Lestari, kami persilakan.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning ladies and gentlemen. Selamat pagi seluruh peserta dari Southeast Asia Museum Collaboration Conference today. Sudah memasuki hari kedua, but I'm very grateful karena teman-teman masih tetap bertahan di hari kedua dan tetap full di 100 undangan. Beberapa masih dalam perjalanan, but hopefully after this we can get all the participants on the stage as well. Di second day hari ini kita akan ada diskusi yang luar biasa engaging dan mungkin yang sudah paling dinanti-nantikan, kita akan bicara soal partnership and also funding. Nah biasanya banyak dari museum-museum ini permasalahannya ada di pendanaan yang sustainable dan kita sudah mendapatkan akan menghadirkan para expert yang memang sangat insightful pengalamannya maupun knowledge-nya di bidang ini. We're going to have Mr. Jorel from Philippine Museum that will have a sharing sessions also tentang bagaimana Museum Nasional Filipina mendapatkan berbagai mitra dan kolaborasi serta pendanaan dari berbagai perusahaan. Mr. Jorel, would you please come to the stage? Give a big applause. Kemudian, iya silakan Pak. Everywhere, yes. It's going on our talk show. So, di online kita juga ada Ibu Esti Nurjadin dari Direktur Eksekutifnya Museum dan Cagar Budaya atau IHA. Kemudian ada juga Ibu Ong Zengmin dari National Gallery of Singapore. Tapi sebelum kita memulai, but before we proceed, we're going to make a game first. To light up the mood and to make us like more spiritual today, kita akan bermain Mentimeter dulu ya. Kita akan lihat, kita akan membuka Mentimeter. Nah teman-teman boleh dibuka handphonenya, boleh diketik mentimeter.com. Tidak ada sinyal, semoga sinyalnya kuat. Boleh, sudah ditayangkan kode yang harus dimasukkan di Mentimeternya? Kodenya 738067772. So you can do the Mentimeter on 738067772. Oke, kalau ada yang bermasalah dengan sinyal, boleh kita ganti dengan panitia sudah menyiapkan post-it, jadi yang tidak bisa masuk boleh meminta post-it. Okay, I will see the questions. Okay, first questions. adalah what kind of partnership that you think most effective in supporting museum development? Jenis kemitraan apa yang menurut Anda paling efektif dalam mendukung museum? Boleh kita isi dulu bersama kira-kira apa nih jenis kemitraannya. Saya tadi dapat bocoran akan ada 4 pertanyaan, jadi ini pertanyaan pertama. Yang butuh post-it bisa di-share, Mbak Wulan? Boleh, boleh. Boleh jawab lebih dari 1. Oke, apa ada yang sudah masuk? Jenis kemitraan apa yang menurut Anda paling efektif? Kemitraan program edukasi, kemitraan berbentuk program hiburan, kemitraan berbentuk pendanaan, kemitraan berbentuk kerjasama nih, kerjasama dan kemitraan mirip-mirip sebenarnya. Beneficial partnership, nah ini harus ditanya lagi nanti kira-kira apa ini ya beneficial partnership. Kemudian ada pendanaan, sponsor, community base, adaptive issues, align dengan visi museum. Regional cooperation. Oke, ini sudah hampir masuk semua sepertinya. Nanti yang pakai post-it, tolong minta bantuannya dikumpulkan ya, teman-teman panitia ya. Bertukar stakeholder, interest base, sharing pameran bersama, this is also good. Oke. Are you also joining the Mentimeter? Baik, teman-teman yang di online juga bisa bergabung. Kemitraan endorsement, kemitraan dengan dana CSR. Oke. Nah, sepertinya semakin masuk dan semakin banyak ya Mbak. Sudah berapa ini yang masuk Mbak Wulan? Sudah berapa yang masuk? Berapa persen? Boleh dicek sudah berapa banyak nih yang masuk nih pertanyaannya nih. Oke, sepertinya sebagian besar sudah masuk. Boleh nanti di-collect yang dalam bentuk post-it. Terus kita next ke pertanyaan kedua, pertanyaan selanjutnya. Oke, apa tantangan terbesar yang dihadapi museum dalam mendapatkan pendanaan? What is the biggest challenge faced by museum in getting sponsorship, in acquiring sponsorship? This is actually the questions that I will ask also to Jorel because Philippines has one of the best success story in getting partnership. Oke, apa tantangan terbesar yang dihadapi museum dalam mendapatkan pendanaan? Oke, apakah sudah mulai masuk nih kira-kira challenge-nya apa nih ya yang dihadapi museum dalam mendapatkan pendanaan, especially biasanya museum-museum private nih yang struggling atau juga bisa jadi museum-museum pemerintah yang ingin lebih memperluas dampak. Boleh di-share challenge-nya ada di mana, teman-teman? Boleh dibagikan post-it, mungkin susah masuk ke dalamnya. Oh, di Mentimeternya belum berubah. Oh, oke. Sinyal sepertinya ya. Oke, kalau mungkin di Mentinya belum berubah, boleh dibagikan saja post-it-nya, biar cepat, boleh dibantu teman-teman. Oke ya. Mungkin ada permasalahan di sini. Try to refresh, coba di refresh. Oke, masih belum bisa? Apa tentang koneksi dengan donor? Oke, udah mulai masuk. 1. Akses terhadap jejaring berarti ini ya. Visi dan misi, compatibility. Masalah komunikasi, tidak sesuai visi misi. Profit oriented. Ini yang profit oriented maksudnya siapanya nih? Nanti kita bisa lebih ngobrol lagi. Media sosial. Direct support, bikin konsep, oke, kebijakan, policy. Tidak ada koneksi. Efisiensi, ini multi kolaboratif. CBA. Lack of interest, oke. Fokus yang terpecah, birokrasi, oke. Oke, tapi rata-rata di sini masuk mentioning connection. Connection is one of the thing that keeps coming when they're talking about the challenge on getting sponsorship. Access to connections is one of the biggest challenge it seems. Baik, pertanyaan ketiga, boleh masuk ke pertanyaan ketiga. Next question. Strategi apa yang dapat membantu museum dalam meningkatkan peluang pendanaan dan keterlibatan publik? What are the strategies that can help museum in leveraging the opportunity of funding and public involvement? Nah, teman-teman punya ide apa nih? Kira-kira strategi apa ya kalau yang menurut pandangan teman-teman yang bisa membantu museum dalam meningkatkan peluang pendanaan dan keterlibatan publik? Apakah sudah ada yang masuk atau masih ada masalah dengan mentinya? Bermasalah juga mentinya ya? Mentinya belum berubah sinyalnya. Boleh di by post-it aja kalau mentinya belum bisa di refresh lagi. Sinyalnya memang ini ya agak jadi challenge. Baik, sambil menunggu masukan dari teman-teman, kita akan mempersiapkan juga materi. So we're going to shift to your presentations after this. Oke, apa masih ini? Masih bisa? Gimana teman-teman panitia? Masih bisa atau tidak bisa? Kalau tidak bisa nggak apa-apa. Nggak bisa, teman-teman panitia nggak bisa? Bisa kah? Oke, mungkin kalau belum bisa nggak apa-apa, di hold saja dulu. Nanti kita bisa lanjutkan lagi di sesi lainnya. Ditutup saja dulu. Kita akan lanjut dengan sesi presentasi dari Museum Nasional Philippines. So we're going to shift on your presentations. Ya, bisa disiapkan materinya dari Filipina, teman-teman. Baik.
Okay. Selamat pagi. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Magandang umaga. Good day, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting all of us speakers to participate in this two-day conference here at the National Museum of Indonesia. I would also like to thank ICOM Indonesia, the Ministry of Culture, for their warmest hospitality and for allowing us to share our story with all of you today. It is always a pleasure to share the ongoing work that we're doing at the National Museum of the Philippines, especially in an area that's becoming increasingly vital to our sustainable operations and relevance to our diverse communities. And that's stakeholder engagement and interdisciplinary partnerships in our museum practice. Next slide. Okay, so let me start by giving you a quick introduction to the National Museum of the Philippines. Since our establishment in 1887, we have evolved from being a colonial institution into transforming into a truly national network. From the ravages of the World War to the rise of a new generation of museums, partnerships have played a critical role in our resilience and growth over the decades. However, it was through legislation such as the 1998 and 2019 National Museum Acts, which formalized our autonomy, we were empowered to build broader networks of support, guided by our Board of Trustees that are representative of the country's policymakers, scientific, and cultural communities. Next slide. So it was actually in the late 1990s when then President Fidel V. Ramos pushed the development of the National Museum Complex in Rizal Park, Manila, which you see on this photograph right here. This is one of our recent images. It was a vision that really set us on the path of expansion and modernization. So what you see here on the foreground of the image is the National Museum of Fine Arts. This used to be the House of the Senate, the old legislative building. It was built during the American period in the early 1900s, and it was completely destroyed during World War II. So in the 1940s, it had to be rebuilt. It was the House of Congress and the Senate until the 1970s, and eventually it was repurposed to become the National Museum, which housed our anthropological, natural history, and fine arts collections. Since then, and of course coming into the modern era, we have been able to develop and expand that museum compound and through this complex that you see on the screen. So there's a big park with all the trees that we are still developing at the moment. Hopefully we will have a newer purpose-built exhibition building somewhere there to really connect the scopes of the three main museums of the National Museum Complex. So that's fine arts you see in the foreground. So which used to house all of our curatorial divisions, but it has expanded into their own buildings. So now we have the National Museum of Anthropology, which you see here in the right side. And on the top right, you see, with the dome, you see the National Museum of Natural History, which opened in 2018. So as you can see, we continue on developing our museums, not just in Metro Manila, but also around the country. Next slide, please. So today, we're a national network attached to the Department of Education, operating over 20 museums across the country, covering Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, our main island groups. In addition to our central complex in Manila, which you just saw in the previous photo. Each of these sites is integral to our mission, and together they form an archipelagic system designed to make our heritage more accessible to Filipinos wherever they may be. So as you can see, we have museums from the northernmost part of the Batanes group of islands, which is closer to Taiwan, and we have museums all the way down to Sulu, the Sulu region, and the southernmost part of the Philippines in Mindanao. And in the next coming years, we will be opening. Thank you very much, sir. And in the next coming years, we will be opening more museums. In fact, there's at least 5 more museum branches in the pipeline, hopefully to open by 2028. Okay, that works. Next slide. In this process, we've long recognized that public service means going beyond Metro Manila. Through the support of local government units, national agencies, and the private sector, we've developed museums housed in either repurposed heritage buildings or purpose-built structures. The Tabon Cave Complex in Palawan, for example, over here, is a product of sustained interagency collaboration and research support, inspired by our shared goal to enlist the significant archaeological site as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Also, our exhibitions draw on partnerships with universities and local cultural communities, ensuring relevance, authenticity, and engagement. Next slide. Also, through collaborations with the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, local governments, and international foundations, we've undertaken the restoration of key heritage structures from colonial-era churches to watchtowers and ancestral homes, some of which have been destroyed by natural calamities such as earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Next slide. Each site is, of course, restored. Each site that we've restored, of course, is a story reclaimed, and each project is possible only through partnerships that pool funding, expertise, and community willpower. Our mobile museum boxes program, which features natural science and cultural heritage to universities, schools, and communities, demonstrates that what we can achieve through multi-sectoral collaboration. These boxes are co-developed with educators, funded in part by Forest Foundation Philippines and other partners, and deployed with the help of local government units and educational institutions. This is where partnerships become vehicles of equity, ensuring that every Filipino, regardless of location, has access to culture and science. And if we talk about vehicles, literally, we're actually developing another concept of the mobile museum buses, and that's news that's still brewing, and we're looking forward to sharing more updates on that very soon. Next slide. One of our landmark collaborations is with the Aboitiz Infra Capital and the Mactan Cebu International Airport. Through this partnership, last year, we installed a monumental public artwork by national artist Kidlat Tahimik in the airport's departure hall. This is the first large-scale museum-grade installation in any Philippine tourism gateway, and it proves how museums can enrich civic spaces, transforming travel hubs into platforms for cultural storytelling and national pride. In fact, the Mactan Cebu International Airport is also gunning for awards for passenger experience, and this is part of their program as well. Next slide. We also explore partnerships with the private sector to create meaningful public offerings. Our long-term partnership with Security Bank was deepened with a donation of a significant collection of sculptures by national artist Guillermo Tolentino. This model of goodwill shows how corporate social responsibility can be aligned with heritage preservation, creating platforms where history meets the public in beautifully curated galleries. Next slide. SM Prime Holdings is one of our longest-standing private sector partners. Beyond support for infrastructure maintenance, they've also contributed to marketing initiatives and new spaces for public activations. This ceremonial signing marks another milestone in our shared commitment to maintaining museum environments that are welcoming, inclusive, and future-ready. This is what we call a service donation, where a large corporation basically shares their resources, their technical resources, in helping us maintain our cooling systems, for example, in some of our museum spaces. Next slide. Another example is our long-running collaboration with Shell Pilipinas. Through the prestigious National Students Art Competition, we've been able to showcase the talent and resilience of Filipino youth while using our museum space to foster public participation in the arts. This partnership reflects our shared belief that art is a force for inspiration and inclusion. Next slide. While the Cultural Center of the Philippines is undergoing, next slide please. While the Cultural Center of the Philippines is undergoing their multi-year renovation, we have been collaborating on continuing its exhibition and public programming through our spaces. This partnership aligns our institutional visions to champion national creativity and explore new ways of presenting our heritage to diverse publics, especially in supporting our sister cultural agencies by providing them a safe space for their programs. Next slide. And as the creative economy expands, so too does the museum's role in supporting it. From fashion shows to film shoots, product showcases to cultural festivals, our museums now serve as dynamic venues for creative expression. These engagements are co-curated experiences that showcase Filipino creativity, the reimagining of the museum space, and the potential to build new audiences. Next slide. Our work also extends beyond our walls and into policy arenas, international fora, and community networks. We've collaborated with cultural agencies and embassies to advocate for Philippine intangible heritage, like piña weaving, this exhibition that we opened in the UNESCO headquarters in Paris, in collaboration with the National Commission for the UNESCO, and the Philippine Embassy in Paris and permanent delegation to the UNESCO. These events help center Filipino creativity in global dialogues, whether through formal recognitions, joint exhibitions, or public programs. Advocacy-driven partnerships amplify our national voice and bring our heritage to the world stage. One of our advocacies now is to be able to bring the experience of World Expos back to the Philippines. As you know, the Osaka World Expo is now ongoing. We have a beautiful Philippine pavilion. And for the very first time, we will be able to bring parts of that experience back into the museum space in the Philippines so the Filipino people can actually also enjoy what was presented in Osaka. Same goes for other Philippine pavilion participations, such as the Venice Biennale exhibitions. Next slide. In terms of international museum-to-museum collaborations, so on the global front, we've been actively engaging with institutions such as the Louvre Abu Dhabi. Through technical exchanges and dialogue, we explore new ways of presenting Philippine material culture to global audiences, while also learning from best practices in conservation and collections management. There's so much potential in museum-to-museum collaboration, as you know. These international partnerships reinforce our role in cultural diplomacy and heritage leadership in Southeast Asia. Next slide. Also, in Berlin, our technical cooperation with the Ethnologisches Museum is deepening understanding of Filipino textiles and ethnographic objects, particularly a collection of 21 objects that were donated to the Ethnologisches Museum by our national hero, Dr. Jose Rizal. Together, our conservators, curators, and researchers are uncovering provenance stories and ensuring appropriate conservation approaches. For these donations, a collection that was given to this European institution in 1888. That's a very long time ago. So it's truly very significant. And it's also a way of repatriating, if not the physical objects, but at least a digital version and the essence of the donation and the purpose of why they were donated themselves. This is heritage diplomacy in action, where knowledge is co-produced, and cultural ownership is affirmed through collaboration, not just through loans or physical repatriations. Next slide. And as recent literature affirms, interdisciplinary and cross-sectoral partnerships are now core to museum work. We are part of a broader ecosystem, one that includes artists, educators, scientists, brands, and communities. What matters is that these partnerships are rooted in a shared vision, co-created outcomes, and mutual accountability. These values guide every initiative we at the National Museum of the Philippines embark on. These diverse partnerships, spanning conservation, education, creative industries, and infrastructure, are how the National Museum of the Philippines fulfills its evolving mandate. They are grounded in trust, shared values, and mutual accountability. Together, we ensure that museums remain relevant, resilient, and rooted in the lives of the people we serve, especially the Filipino people. Next slide. And with that, maraming salamat po. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Jorel. What an insightful, and I'm sure the audience will have lots of questions. I have lots of questions. But we will have a question and session answers later on. Kita akan ada sesi tanya jawab nanti. Sekarang kita akan meluncur ke pembicara kedua. Ibu Esti Nurjadin, apakah sudah ada di Zoom? Direktur Eksekutif dari IHA. Ibu Esti Nurjadin, teman-teman bisa dicek? Belum? Belum ada? Oke. Belum terkoneksi, baik. Belum terkoneksi ya? Oke, baik. Kalau begitu kita akan memanggil the next speaker is from National Gallery of Singapore, Mrs. Ong Zemin. Is she already connected? Ong Zemin, National Gallery Singapore. Yes, she's online. Okay, Miss Ong Zemin is already online, so sudah bisa teman-teman? Okay, bounce back again.
Good morning.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Is the connection on? Because I can only hear your voice, but the
Yes, I think adding me on now. Give me a
Yes, we still try to connect the screen. I think it's teman-teman panitia, bagaimana materinya sudah bisa ditampilkan? Videonya belum tampil di layar. Is it already? Okay, baik. Okay, Miss Ong Zemin, please proceed with your presentations. We have around 7 to 10 minutes for the presentations.
Alright.
Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Chen Min, and I'm the Director of Learning and Public Engagement at the National Gallery, Singapore. So I'm really pleased to be invited by the organizers today to share a little bit on my museum and our work in impact studies. Let me see. I'm afraid that I cannot see my slides, so I might need someone's help to indicate if they are moving to the next slide.
It seems there is a bit of technical difficulties in the screen. Is it okay now? Okay, it's already appear on the screen. Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. Yeah, I'm afraid that I can't see it from my side, but it's okay. Maybe I can continue speaking, and if someone could help to match my slides to my words, that might be great. Okay, so today I'm sharing a little bit about impact studies. And an impact study is essentially a structured evaluation that helps to examine a program's outcomes, often using tools such as surveys, interviews, and focus groups to track changes. So it's common for many museums to communicate their work through annual financial or organizational reports, but these are typically focused on general information like your budget and so on, and sometimes lack measurable evidence of performance beyond our pure visitorship numbers. As many of our museums are non-profit organizations, so collectively, I'm sure we are all under pressure to secure new funding, and this in particular has been quite challenging in the post-COVID situation. And as a result, we are often asked as museums to prove the value of our work, our impact on our communities. If someone can help me move to the next slide, why museums need impact studies. So if you are, thank you, I can see it now. So impact studies show how museums make a difference in communities by using data to measure and understand their impact. It goes beyond attendance numbers to understand how audiences have changed, what they have learned when they came to our venue, how they have engaged, whether it's with our artworks or artifacts, and why. Importantly, impact studies help to shift a museum's role from being just a passive keeper of the collections to an active agent of change. An impact report can help to highlight our position on key issues, whether our museum believes in sustainability or whether there's a core social issue in our society that we want to promote. It helps to demonstrate relevance. It helps to justify funding and our relationship to our society. Importantly, it shows accountability to our existing funders, and it also helps to raise awareness with potential new funders who may happen to have similar corporate social responsibilities as us. As funders and the public requires a greater transparency in our current society, impact reports have also grown in importance in recent years as a tool in museum fundraising. Next slide, please. For museum impact reports, one thing that is actually important to note is that it's actually difficult sometimes to prove a direct causality. It's not the cause and the result that we're looking at. Because many factors influence how a visitor responds to an artwork or an artifact, their interpretations are often subjective. So rather than a straight cause and effect kind of relationship, the National Gallery's impact studies normally show contribution, meaning how can a museum help to support change in society? So for example, this is a study conducted by the National Gallery Singapore together with the National University of Singapore on slow art. This is a wellness program that our museum has been running over the last couple of years, of which is actually based on intentional looking. Participants come to the museum and they are taught how to look at one or two artworks, and across the duration of 1 hour, they will be sharing a little bit about their emotions, their responses to the selected artworks. And during the course of this study, we will track the participants' emotions at the start of the program before they have entered and started talking about the artwork, and at the end of the program, how they feel about it. So essentially, it's actually a series of exercises of intentionally looking at art pieces. And through this study, we believe that art programming can help to support emotional well-being. So if you can go to the next slide, I can share a little bit about the findings. Next slide, please. Thank you. So you can see on this slide a little bit about, I think, the information that we have consolidated together with our academic colleagues over at National University Singapore. So from our study itself, we can see that a lot of our participants have actually responded that they felt a little bit more positive, about 10 to 20% increase in positive emotions after having taken part in the program. They feel a little bit less upset, a little less worried. And surprisingly enough, also have reported, I think, improvement in pain reduction, meaning that at the start of the program, they were asked if they were feeling pains in any part of their body, like the neck, the back, the arms, and so on. And at the end of the program, they were asked the same question again, of which quite a number of them actually did respond that they actually felt a reduced pain reduction in the neck and shoulder areas, possibly because of the reduction in stress as well. So generally speaking, I think our study does show that it seems that there is a well-being, the overall well-being scores did increase, and that therefore we do believe that our art program can help a little bit, I think, in general wellness situation, which is quite important nowadays in society, because I think stress stress and emotional well-being is actually a very key topic nowadays in both in social media. I think when we meet with people and so on, it's actually quite a big topic for everyone internationally. So this program for gallery work is on art and wellness. And it actually does help to establish that our program seems to be having some contributing effects, at least to society itself. And more importantly, it actually shows two collaborators here. So, of course, National University of Singapore is our main partner to help with this academic study. But more importantly, this research work is actually made possible by support from Johnson & Johnson Foundation, who is one of our funders as well. And what this means also is that from this report, with Johnson & Johnson Foundation and the original amount that they have put towards helping us with this report, we hope that this report eventually is something that we can take and show new sponsors in future or new funders, and maybe that might help us to continue sustainable growth for our programs. So this is how we are actually using our impact studies and our museum. Can I move to the next slide, please? So having said that, impact studies itself is not often a very common thing for some museums to have, to be honest. We had also had to learn a lot along our way as we were starting to establish impact reporting in our organization. So there are some common challenges for any kind of museums here who are hoping to start on it or maybe have already encountered it, and it will be interesting to share results. So of course, the first impact issue that I'm looking at is actually resources and skills. Because impact studies often take a longer period of time and sometimes across multiple years, it does need a certain sense of funding, at least to help with the research part of it. It sometimes may also require staff with specialized skill sets. So you might either have to train your staff to at least handle surveys or understand it a little bit more, or you may have to reach out to other academic organizations to form partnerships with them. So that's the first part of learning that our museum had. Second part of it is that many museum programs often run are often based on very small group sizes, so it's a small sample size. And when we are handling it in terms of a survey, a small sample size actually sometimes make the results less reliable. So in order for us to achieve impact studies using our program groups, we also have to understand there might be different kinds of approaches that we use, whether it's a quantitative method of a survey for large group programs, or sometimes maybe qualitative methods like interviews or focus groups to help get a feedback that we can use as storytelling for our sponsors. It helps to bring out a little bit more of the human factor in our work itself. So that is how we sometimes have to handle the different kind of groups. Next slide, please. Another part that I think has been quite key for my organization when we embarked on impact reporting is actually ethical considerations. So not surprisingly, because we are collecting a lot of data, so it's actually quite important to respect the privacy of those information of the people of which we are collecting information from. Data collection policies must meet your local legal standards, and that's especially so if you're working with what we call sensitive groups. Could be very young children, or could be actually the elderly, or sometimes people with medical conditions. So this is actually quite an important part of impact reporting. And of course, how you are storing the information, how long you can store the information, whether you're actually keeping certain kind of information like their addresses, their telephone number, their emails. All of this must be worked into your data collection policy of your own organization in order to embark on impact research. And in order to help all of this, of course, the last part of it is really the research consideration. So from our museum, we do find it quite useful sometimes to partner with external academic institutions because we feel that this gives a neutral third-party kind of view, at least on the whole situation. And they can also bring in their specialized abilities in doing the studies, conducting the surveys, also advising on certain research trajectories that we had never considered. And at the same time, we are using this opportunity, like I said earlier, to maybe seek new funders who may have interest in the outcomes of our research, and that also helps to bring extra sponsorship to the museums eventually. And that brings me to the last slide itself. Next slide, thank you. So a good impact report actually really does more than show numbers. It helps your stakeholders understand your mission, how you are measuring your outcomes like social and community impact. And it really goes beyond just looking at how many programs that you're running, how many people have come to your museum doors, to actually really highlight how people engage with your programs. So to conclude, impact reports are really a powerful tool for demonstrating your value. In our museum, we find that it builds trust with our stakeholders. It helps to guide both the funders and also our own management's decision on what programs we should keep, what programs we can make bigger and amplify because they have showed a certain kind of value. And as a result of this, our impact results also help to ensure that our museum work is not only seen, but truly understood and appreciated by our management, our funders, and of course our public as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Ong Jimin from National Gallery of Singapore. It's obviously very important for us to understand about the impact assessments and its importance in acquiring partnership and collaborative from other partners. So, as I mentioned before, we will have questions and answer session. So please get ready. Siapkan pertanyaan para audiens hari ini, Bapak-Bapak dan Ibu-Ibu boleh mempersiapkan pertanyaannya. Nanti kita akan buka sesi tanya jawab tentang bagaimana National Gallery Singapura bisa sukses untuk mendapatkan banyak partner sama dengan museum nasional di Filipina juga mendapatkan banyak sekali kemitraan. Baik, apakah Ibu Esi Nurjadin sudah bisa terhubung di Zoom? Boleh dicek apakah Ibu Esti sudah terhubung di Zoom? Belum, Ibu Esti masih belum bisa terhubung di Zoom. Boleh dicek lagi. Baik, sambil menunggu Ibu Esti mungkin kita akan open questions dulu dengan panelis yang sudah ada hari ini. Boleh silakan saya buka dulu sesi tanya jawab. Nanti kalau Ibu Esti terhubung kita bisa lanjutkan. Oke, ada pertanyaan dari Floor terkait dengan kemitraan dan pendanaan museum dari pengalaman museum di Filipina dan museum di National Gallery Singapura. Boleh dalam bahasa Indonesia saja, nggak apa-apa, nanti saya terjemahkan. I will translate into English, fine. Ya, silakan Mas. Oh, Ibu Esi sudah terhubung? Oh, she's connected already. Oh, Singapura, oke. Oke, Bu Esti belum terhubung ya? Belum, masih belum. Okay, we're going to open a question and answer sessions. Boleh teman-teman silakan, ada pertanyaan untuk sesi ini. Dalam bahasa Indonesia saja tidak apa-apa, nanti akan kami bantu terjemahkan. Jadi, boleh, 1, 2, 3. Oke, boleh mbaknya dulu yang sebelah sini.
Okay. Hello. Good morning, everybody. My name is Rosita from Museum Penerangan. I want to ask something from the National Gallery of Singapore. I'm so interested about the impact studies. This is the first time I heard about the impact studies in the museum in Indonesia. I think we not yet doing that. So I'm asking a question. What is the important things why we should do the impact studies in our museum? It's apa alasan, the reason we make an excuse for our head of museum if we want to do that. What this important? Why we should do the impact studies to our museum? Like this. Thank you.
Oke, selanjutnya next question first ya. Boleh Ibu? Ya.
Ya, selamat pagi Bapak dan Ibu. Saya izin pakai bahasa Indonesia mungkin.
Monggo Ibu.
Ya, perkenalkan saya Ariyanti Ayu dari Fakultas Seni Rupa dan Desain ITB. Begitu, mungkin agak aneh saya berada di sini begitu. Tapi saya sangat ingin bertanya kepada Mr. Horel dari National Museum of Philippines. Kurang lebih sekitar mungkin 3 tahun yang lalu kami sudah bekerja sama dengan National Museum of Japanese History, Riki Hyaku dari Jepang. Dan kebetulan juga mereka juga sudah mengembangkan mobile museum boxes di sana, begitu. Dan saya ingin bertanya kepada Pak Mr. Horel, apakah ada proses desain yang dilakukan dalam pengembangan mobile museum boxes yang sudah pernah dilakukan sebelumnya dengan University of Tokyo, begitu. Dan apakah program tersebut masih berlanjut hingga sekarang? Karena kalau tidak salah terakhir di tahun 2015 yang di University of Tokyo, begitu. Dan mungkin itu saya ingin juga bertanya tadi ya lebih lanjut desain proses yang dilakukan karena memang kami pun sedang melakukan proses kerjasama yang hampir sama dengan Reki Haku. Gitu. Terima kasih.
Mobile boxes.
Mobile museum boxes. Ya.
Questions about mobile museum boxes, whether you collaborate with Tokyo and how is it now? That's
With University of Tokyo.
with University of Tokyo. But hold on, we have still one more questions.
Okay, thank you. My name is Fijar. I'm from Sintas, the museum consultant. My question is to Mr. Every museum, most of it have a value of the museum itself, the value that should deliver to the audience or to visitors. So my question is, if we have a wide range of the collaboration in wide range institution, how we can defend our value. For example, we have a biodiversity or ecology museum, for example, and we need funding or collaboration with coal industry or coal mining. It's gonna have a conflicting value between these two. So from your experience, should we need to find the same value from other partners, or just forget the values, and we just need to the CSR or something like that? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. First we go to you, Jamin, and then we go to you. Okay, Jamin, could you please help us to answer the questions about the importance of the impact study?
Sure. I think that if I understand, I think the question was how do we actually explain or how do we justify the use of impact studies in museum, and also understanding, I think, from the participant that impact studies might be something new sometimes for some museums. To be honest, impact studies itself as an approach is not new. It has been around, of course, in the academic sector from, I think, maybe about mid or early 20th century. But its use in the museums has been also around for maybe a couple of decades now. It's more common in the West, to be honest. We hardly ever see it in this part of Southeast Asia, and that's one of the reasons why even for National Gallery Singapore, we only started looking at it actively in the last maybe 4 to 5 years or so as a more as an important tool for our work for two areas. So the importance of impact studies, first of all, is actually for us as a museum management to track the success rate of our programs. So if our program says that they are meant to actually foster creativity in a child, and we're doing like an education class for them, the question is, how do you prove that a child, after doing one class with us, has learned anything new? Our very, very early surveys actually was just really based on a simple fact that for every school child that comes to National Gallery Singapore, at the end of doing a tour around the building, you just need to be able to tell us 5 Singapore artist names. That was the very original start of a survey that we use. But nowadays, of course, for us now, it's actually a much more complex situation, because it's trying to prove that you remember 5 names. Is that enough to show that a child has learned about art and is really a very creative thinker? Because creative thinking is a very important thing for Singapore government, definitely. That's the main reason why they invest in the arts and culture here, is also to help with the population. So that means that my impact study now, the one that I'm preparing to run in a few years' time, actually, which I'm fundraising now, is likely to be about a 2 to 3 year study that may track the same child in the first trip that they come to the museum, and subsequent years when they come to the museum on the other occasions to see if there is indeed a growth in the child's understanding of arts and whether that also helps them in other areas of their learning in school and so on. So that is a very in-depth impact study. The beneficiaries of such an impact studies, of course, first of all, is for us at the museum. Of course, we can show that we are supporting education, and hopefully that may bring us education funders, or that may actually bring us government grants, hopefully. But that is only one kind of funds that we are looking at. There's another kind of funds I'm looking at now in Singapore, which is the relevance between art and the medical area. So we have in Singapore what we call medical humanities, which is how we can bring in art into the medical sector to help people ease their emotions. So often used for palliative care, people who are maybe beyond any help for medicine, but are hoping to live out the last few days of their life in comfort. So whether art can help to make it better for them, that is something that we are doing. And as such, we are also running research now in that area, together with support from academic sector and also the medical sector, to establish if that indeed value of museum work in that area. And if there is, then there may be also potential grant and funding or sponsorships from organizations that are interested in this area.
Okay, thank you. Maybe my 2 points on this, because I also do impact studies, is there is a strong reason why impact studies in museums are essentials, because they help institutions measure social, economic, and educational contributions. Jadi lebih terukur sebenarnya kalau ada impact studies, dan providing data-driven insights untuk guiding funding decisions, improve visitor engagement, and demonstrate the broader value of museum to communities. Jadi sangat penting sekali kalau mau ada engagement dengan perusahaan atau CSR, it's better for museum to have the impact studies, because we can show it to our potential sponsor Indonesians that we have already done this, and this is the impact, something like that. Jadi lebih ke sana sih Mbak, kalau menurut pengalaman aku gitu. Okay, we continue with the second questions to you about the mobile museum mobile box.
Thank you for your interest in the Mobile Museum Boxes program. In fact, we haven't actually brought those boxes outside of the Philippines yet. Since the Boxes program was implemented, it's been mostly just domestic exhibition that we've been focused on. And in partnership with universities, local universities, and the Forest Foundation of the Philippines, we have been able to develop a sustainable way to help the exhibition travel to all these different locations. We are an archipelagic nation, just as Indonesia, so you can all understand the logistical challenges of traveling exhibitions in our countries. So in this small way, we are able to share the knowledge and the research that our natural history curators have been gathering over the years, in consolidating them into mobile manifestations that can be appreciated by smaller groups of people, especially those in university or school communities. There is also another version of the Mobile Museum Boxes program that was developed by one of our branch museums at the National Museum of the Philippines in Iloilo City. They call it Pambansang Museo sa Barangay, or National Museum in the neighborhoods, where we bring mobile museum boxes that are designed for a younger audience. Those that are tactile, that young people can actually touch and interact with, and they're taken to the fringes, to communities that are kind of hard to reach. So if the community cannot come to the museum, we bring the experience through public programs and the Mobile Museum Boxes exhibition to those communities. With regards to the University of Tokyo, I'm just very curious why, in particular, University of Tokyo came to mind. We are, in fact, working with the University of Tokyo at the moment on a photography and botany exhibition that is set to open in July this year. So we are very, very interested not only on museum-to-museum collaboration internationally, but also museum to educational institution collaboration as well.
Thank you. Okay, I hope it's answers. Cukup, Mbak? Okay, thank you. And on to the next question. I think this CSR question is very intriguing, this one.
If I understand the question correctly, it's about the ethics of partnering with different organizations. If we are sharing the same brand values or core values, is that what you meant? Not necessarily financial values. So yes, so the strategic plan of the National Museum for the next 4 years, that's 2024 to 2028, are anchored on 4 main strategic pillars. We have the priorities for universal access. Number 2, we have cultural and natural heritage. 3, digital transformation. And 4, good governance. So if the values of our partners align with those strategic priorities, then it is very more likely for us to connect with those institutions. You're very right that there has to be an alignment of values, because if there isn't, then the CSR may not be as impactful as data might show through an impact studies initiative, because at the very onset of your program, there really has been no connection. So it's very important to have conversations with partners very early in the process of partnership. So we don't just accept, we don't just accommodate every single request that comes to our table, because the National Museum does have a very robust, very active program for the year. Our cultural attaché from the Philippine Embassy here in Indonesia will testify to the stringent measures that we have in government in the Philippines in measuring how our budgets and public funds are being utilized throughout the year. So at the National Museum, we take seriously our responsibility for public funds utilization, because we are mostly government funded through public funds. And these partnerships are just additional bonuses to what we are already doing with funds that are bestowed and entrusted to us. So because there's that big responsibility in utilizing our budgets, we have to focus on being able to utilize our public funds. And I'm happy to say that in the last few years, we've been improving in our utilization, averaging at more than 80 to 85% every year. And we're still hoping to get better at that, because of course, obviously, there are different processes that impede utilization, and that is planning, procurement, all the bureaucracy that comes with running a government institution. So all these factors pulled together really puts pressure on us to be able to fulfill our programs every year, because we are output-based. So our budgets are given to us based on how we can justify through data how our performance has been over the years in order for us to justify the budgets that we request for year after year. So when these corporations come in, it's not only extra work for us, but because the extra work comes with the responsibility of the partnership, of the relationship, we have to be able to manage every single request that comes to our table. If at the moment we cannot accommodate, or the brand values or the core values do not align at a particular time, then we don't close our doors immediately. We actually open opportunities for dialogue until we are able to come to an agreement on how we could align in terms of purpose, in terms of what kind of impact we are looking for towards the communities that we are serving. I hope that answers your question.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Alignment of vision is very important. Yeah, this is like you strong highlighted of when we want to engage with the external partnership. We need to consider about their value and our value also. But I understand that actually the main challenges in Indonesia's museum landscapes are in how we get the access to the company to cooperate with us. So probably it's a different landscape. But I have been warning several times now that the time is kind of closer to the closing. So I think we can have it outside these sessions, more conversations about this. Jadi teman-teman kalau mau masih ingin bertanya lebih lanjut, bisa banget setelah acara ini selesai, setelah diskusi ini selesai, Pak Jorel will still be here to have conversations with you. And I strongly encourage untuk teman-teman diskusi dengan Pak Jorel because I've been visiting the three Philippine national museums, and I can say you've done a very good sample to form a partnership with a company or with private sectors. Karena hampir di semua ruangannya di museum, di tiga museum nasional, per ruangan itu ada plakat-plakat yang menunjukkan bahwa this room ini disponsori oleh misalnya Hyundai apa-apa. Jadi hampir di semua ruangan, dan itu ruangannya banyak sekali, itu ada nama-nama perusahaan yang berbeda-beda yang mensponsori museum nasional. So this is a very good opportunity untuk museum-museum, terutama museum-museum pribadi yang ingin bertanya bagaimana caranya bisa meyakinkan sponsor untuk berkolaborasi. Selain kita juga punya daya tawar di sisi visi dan misi serta value yang kita berikan, bagaimana caranya convincing mereka untuk juga mau terlibat dan supporting our missions in preserving Indonesian culture, atau sesuai dengan visi dan misi museum bapak-bapak dan ibu-ibu gitu. So before I close these sessions, would you like to give a final statement? And also, Ms. Ong Jamin, I will need your final closing statement. From you first, thank you.
Thank you, Nova. What you brought up are all very relevant and very important. If there's anything I would like to share, it's really, what is the secret of partnerships? In any human partnership, it's really, how do you keep the relationship alive? How do you keep the relationship productive and useful and impactful? It's really through conscious planning. Planning is really important. There has to be a vision. No matter what kind of partnership you enter into, there has to be a clear purpose, vision, and mission. And if your values and your objectives do not align during the first conversation, be open to discuss further how you can align in the future. As museums, we not only just educate the public, but we also open opportunities for corporations, for the private sector to learn through our practice, to learn through the empathy that we practice in our day-to-day museum operations, approaches, and dealings with the public. We know what the people are looking for, and if we have the right data to refer to, if we have the right impact studies, data to refer to, then we will be able to articulate much better to partners what kind of world our museum audiences are looking for, what kind of experience, what kind of resources that they are looking for. And through those conversations, then we can design public programs that will be best suited for whichever the growing number of audiences that we have. So again, planning, documentation, impact studies, these are all tools that will help us succeed in the long term.
Thank you, Jorel. Ms. Ong Jamin, can you give us your final closure?
Well, I think everything that should be said about partnerships has really possibly been covered, I think, in brief. So my only thought, at least when it comes to partnership, at least for me personally, is of course to share the joy of our work actually. So I believe that all of us who are here in the museums probably have a very strong passion for our work. And that is something definitely that we can bring to our partnerships, and hopefully, I think, grow our partnership together with new people as well. So I have learned a lot, I think, through our partners over the years. So indeed, it's actually very important to find good partners who can help to share knowledge with us, sometimes bring new skills to us, and hopefully who can actually run the distance with us and grow with us over the years. So I think that is all what it means to me in terms of a museum partnership, a good museum partnership.
Okay, thank you. I just received confirmations that Ibu Esti is sick, but she's willing to join with the with the sessions? Ada Ibu Esti? Oke, oh maybe later. Oke, sedang diatur dulu. Jadi mohon maaf Ibu Esti tadi sedang kurang sehat, jadi beliau belum bisa bergabung. Tapi mungkin nanti di session berikutnya beliau akan mencoba untuk bergabung. Beliau menyampaikan permohonan maafnya bahwa beliau sedang kurang sehat dan belum bisa bergabung untuk sesi ini, tapi semoga bisa bergabung di sesi selanjutnya. Oke, thank you very much Miss Jamin from National Gallery of Singapore. It's really important opportunity to have you on the stage also. And Joral, thank you very much for your insight. We'd love to have more conversations about your experiences. Teman-teman, konferensi ini adalah konferensi kolaborasi yang berarti teman-teman harus memanfaatkan koneksi yang sudah kita bangun di sini. Please ask lots of questions, please share lots of experience, dan please connect with each other karena ini adalah konferensi yang mempertemukan pengalaman dan membangun jejaring bagi kita semua. Thank you very much. Partnership is the key for advancements of museums, and I hope in the next sessions we can also talk more about this. Terima kasih banyak, Joral. Thank you very much. Thank you semuanya.
Oke, baik.
Dokumentasi ya, teman-teman.
Kepada para panitia dimohon untuk dapat membantu mendokumentasikan Ibu Nova dan juga Mr. Jorel di depan, dan turut mengundang juga kepada Bapak Budi, Ibu Endah, Bapak untuk dapat berfoto bersama di depan. Bu Endah, iya. Baik, kepada para panitia sudah, iya. Baik, sudah siap Bapak dan Ibu? Baik, dalam hitungan ke 1, 2, dan 3. Sekali lagi, one more time. 1, 2, dan 3. Mungkin boleh dibantu salam museum? Salam museum, museum di hatiku. Baik, 3, 2, 1. Terima kasih. Boleh beri tepuk tangan yang meriah Bapak dan Ibu. Terima kasih kepada Ibu Nova, Mr. Jorel, and also Mrs. Ong Zengmin atas materi yang sangat luar biasa dan menarik pada siang hari ini. Baik, Bapak dan Ibu masih semangat? Masih semangat? Masih bisa menerima materi selanjutnya? Oke, satu materi lagi menuju istirahat. Semoga masih siap untuk menerima materi yang sangat bermanfaat karena dalam beberapa jam ke depan pastinya panelis kita dan juga narasumber kita itu sangat-sangat berkompeten di bidangnya. Baik Bapak dan Ibu hadirin peserta SEA Museum Collaboration, tidak kalah menarik dari sesi sebelumnya, selanjutnya kita akan mendengarkan sesi case study presentation dari 2 institusi yang aktif membangun kolaborasi program publik. Mengangkat tema Public Program as a Means to Foster Partnerships, kami mengundang narasumber yang sangat-sangat hebat di bidangnya, yaitu Mrs. Borbola from Indonesia Heritage Society, and also Ibu Ninjani dari Museum Macan, dan akan dimoderatori oleh Ibu Sabila Duhita. Kepada Ibu Sabila Duhita, dipersilakan.
Okay, good morning everyone. I hope everyone is still excited and wide awake for the following exciting session with Ms. Borbala and Ms. Ninjani. So since yesterday we've been talking a lot about public programs and all these interesting creative things that we could do about them. But today we're going to dig deeper into how these programs can do so much more and open up doors to bring partnerships into our museums. So public programs, if they're designed well, they don't just connect us with our audience, but they can even connect museums to communities, cultural organizations, government bodies, and even the private sector. And they can also lead to collaborations that can make our work even more impactful and more sustainable. So today we are joined by two amazing speakers, Berubah Chete, who is here on behalf of Indonesian Heritage Society, who will be doing the first presentation, and Ms. Ninjani from Museum Macan, the head of curatorial manager and public programs at Museum Macan. So first, let me introduce Ms. Berubah. So Ms. Berubah is a museum consultant and educator who has been working across Southeast Asia and Europe for over 2 decades. And recently, she's been working on a major project in Cambodia with the Khmer Rouge Tribunal Museum, where she helped develop exhibitions and outreach strategies to bridge the museum to the public. And she's also been working with public engagement and living history, especially here in Indonesia with the Indonesian Heritage Society, specifically with the Museum Bahari and a lot of other museums in Indonesia. So without further ado, let's give the floor to our first speaker, Berubah Chete.
Good morning. Selamat siang, it is already. Thank you very much for this invitation. So it is true, I might adjust this a bit, sorry. May I ask for some help, please? Okay, so I self-adjust. So I have been introduced as being part of this volunteer organization, Indonesian Heritage Society. We have here some friends of Indonesian Heritage Society here, but actually today I will wear another hat. Please tell me if I speak too fast in English. You follow me. Good? Baik? Apa kabar? Baik. Okay, so I have been a consultant with ECCC, or as we call it, the ECCC. Everyone catched what it is about? Okay, so you know we enter into this domain of jargon now, specific names, abbreviations. So I already have the slides, but can we go please to the next slide? So you see the letters ECCC. Actually, it's an exhibition space which is now being built. So my picture has been taken in the month of March. I have been a consultant there. It's a UN agency. It's the Extraordinary Chambers in the Courts of Cambodia, as has been explained, or maybe it is better known as the Tribunal to the Khmer Rouge. So you know that there was this part of history. Actually, when I told to some of my Indonesian heritage friends about this mission, I was asked to participate. I had this question, do we want to hear sad stories in museums? I think it's a very accurate question, but you know this image of yin and yang, so sometimes we don't only have the bright side of history, we also have to face challenges in history. And I think my story, what I will tell you about today, it's about how actually Cambodia faced that phase of their history of the 20th century. And I hope, you know, it can be an interesting lesson of how actually we call it an exhibition space. Actually, I think if you know the definition of the ICOM about museums, every term stays. So actually it's a museum. Okay, so that's what we will discover today, this morning. Next slide, please. So the Extraordinary Chambers has been brought as a tribunal Cambodian law, but with international participation. That's why it's so unique, and it has a very unique characteristic that the civil parties could really participate. And what was the result? That there were specific reparations. And one reparation is to teach, you know, also generations, also the youth, about what happened, and that justice can be served by gesture. So by first step is to acknowledge your past. So that's a very basic, very simple act, but it's a very brave step, no? If you have this kind of taboo for decades. So I won't get into the history of Khmer Rouge. I will talk about how this project has been born, okay? So I was asked, actually, I participated for 2 missions in Cambodia, in Phnom Penh. One was in January this year, when I had the chance to actually see the landscape of the museums in Cambodia. And in March, I was invited back for a training to present something, which we'll see on the next slide. So I was asked, it was mentioned a bit, it's called Living History. This approach, for example, I knew it from Hungary. I'm Hungarian, from Budapest, Europe. And there's a museum. It's actually the open-air museum of ethnography near Budapest. Maybe you had the chance to visit it. It's in Szentendre. That's kind of the Taman mini concept of Hungary. Hungary being much smaller, but we have some diversity in traditional houses. And there, the challenge was, museum professionals talk from their profession, so they know what kind of courtyard you have, what was the profession who lived there. But maybe it can be less engaging for someone who's, from a small village. That's maybe the first experience being in a museum. So I think that's what happened actually also for these publics in Cambodia, in Phnom Penh, that they wanted to have, as a kind of entrance gate, how to engage public. And, compared to Indonesia, it's a bit similar public, that you have lots of youth who are on TikTok, who might not be that interested in museums, who might not be interested in national traumas, actually who don't know of them, eventually deny them. You have to educate them, but they, how basic this experience is in Cambodia. So let me share you some very personal testimonies that I faced when I was there in January. So I mentioned you this kind of study tour I had for 2 weeks, when I had the chance to actually visit the museum spaces and memorial spaces of this part of the history, and also museums in Cambodia. And near Battambang, there's a space called Killing Cave. And so my driver, who has been with me for 10 days, said, "Sorry, madam, I won't go with you. My mom told me things." He's around 50 or over 50, and said, "I'm sorry, I won't go there." So I had we will see him later, I had a very bright student, one of these outreach officers of this future exhibition space, who explained me, I was a child, I asked about personal history, stories, and he told me, I was in the forest with a cow, and actually the cow missed the path and actually exploded. And me as a child, covered, actually without the cow, covered in blood, I had to go home alone. So just imagine, how it's imprinted. So it's like everywhere. I met colleagues there who are like half French, half Cambodian, who said that they have a very complicated history of learning the language, Khmer. So already the language can be something like not a neutral space, not, something like you feel home. So I think it's a very deep story that has to be told. And you might know that now, in the year of 2025, there has been a law in Cambodia who actually can punish who denies the fact that it has been reality. I don't know if you have followed that news, but actually we arrived to that state, which is like, the Holocaust stories, that some people say that, I'm sorry, it must be, like propaganda, or it hasn't happened. So museum space of education, space of community, has to tell the truth. And I think it's an excellent place where there's a tribunal who has, tried actually the Khmer Rouge main leaders. There were trials, there are findings. So how to exhibit those findings? So the proposal was to create 2 personas. One, you see a civil party guide, we call. Even with this generational change, we said that, okay, it will be rather maybe a niece or a nephew of a survivor who could testify when the trials happened, who can kind of introduce, so trigger, with that approach, local youth. And the other persona we found is like a judge, can be international judge or like a judge from Cambodia who participated at the trials, could be even, like a female judge. There were some strong women there as judges. And so those persons can, by sharing some personal remarks, actually I try to open up my guides, who will be the outreach officers there, to share their stories at their ease. So through those stories, which kind of drafted, we provided 2 monologues to them, both in Khmer and in English, to feel at ease, to be a bit less strict on, at the exhibition place, there will be plenty of panels, information panels with dates, data, but I thought that most engaging is, like my story, to share that story that you have, that you feel comfortable to share. So that was the approach. Please, the next slide. So let me give you, these are actually just pictures of how it will be. The exhibition space will open end of 25. So we hope, the 4th quarter of this year. And this is what we call internally station through, where you can actually see for example, an acid-free box. So it's also an archive. So this space really offers you, invites you, which is behind this exhibition space. So actually it's a resource center. There are more than 2.5 million pages which were produced, for the trial. So it will be actually really showcased, and you can see, the amount of information which the trial had to deal with. But what we want here is it's a kind of invitation, this exhibition, that the resource center will be used. Also, there's a library, there's a reading room, there are free accessible books, not only on law. So actually, now it's open, and for the surrounding neighboring university, it's like a lecture room. So, it's air-conditioned, you can study there, it's calm, it's safe, it's free. So it's something which creates really already this sense of community, actually, before this exhibition place is really opened. Please, the next slide. So, as I explained you, this past is really, you can feel it everywhere, and it's actually your personal interpretation, what you want to do with it. And if you are interested, you can see there's, for example, the former ambassador from the US who stated, it's one of the markers. If something like this has happened in the past, you have to deal with it. You have to digest, and then, by knowing yourself, you might know it's like an ancient Greek saying, first know yourself. After you know yourself, you can, have the prosperity in your future and in your present. So I think it's a very important and brave step that Cambodia has taken here. Please, the next slide. So I asked for a quote of one of my colleagues at the ECCC, who I asked, what is their main challenge, and said that, actually it's much easier to present, no matter how long, legal presentation, that I think it's rather generous. Imagine 150 square meters. It's rather large, but still, if you have, you have this thirst of showing, actually 16 years of trials, you had 4 cases, you had hundreds of civil parties who have been heard, so you want to show everything there. So it's also an invitation for you. So if you happen to be in Phnom Penh after, let's say, end of this year, I think, it's a very interesting study tour to visit the ECCC. Please, next slide. So I am showing you some more concept pictures of the exhibition. So there will be actually a station where this era of the Khmer Rouge will be explained. And also there were 4 cases, so it will be explained why those 10 individuals were heard and tried. Please, the next slide. So, as this is a UN agency, there are, I think yesterday, those who were here have heard about the Sustainable Development Goals. So I try to show you, how this is related to that. So I think not explicitly, but of course implicitly in this museum, in this exhibition space, these goals will be represented. And I would like to have a special accent on the gender question, because you might know that even if we normally live like men and women in this earth, so we need actually special agencies, even UN agencies like UN Women, and also we have actually a specific SDG for that. And in this case, it was for already acknowledging that it's a war crime, rape and sexual violence happened. So I think, you know, these are really, let's say, deep and tough questions to face, but I think that actually a museum space can be open for that. Next slide, please. So to get back to my practical work, so that was the training week I conducted, and I am really proud of my students. So as now it's a kind of mise en abîme, like you have, you know, the onions layers, so actually showing you as a projection what will be the exhibition. So here, that's again the station 3, so the findings of the trials, which is shown as the student is explaining as a civil party person how to present to the peers, students, and actually like visitors the exhibition. And so mainly the public will be Khmer, so the main public is Khmer, but of course we think that there will be professionals, there will be also international, like from everywhere in the world, tourists. So very bizarrely, if you happen to book a hotel in Phnom Penh, you will get this kind of indications, for example, on Booking.com, that, oh, you happen to be only 500 meters or 1.5 kilometers from the main genocide sites. So I think, you know, soon also this museum could add a chapter of showing, you know, the work, the legacy of this exhibition space. Please, the next slide. So we conducted then 1 week of training, and on the next slide I will show you that even we continued online via Zoom, so we kind of ran out of time with my students. If we can go, please, one more slide. Yeah, here actually I think that's the most powerful part of this future exhibition space. We call it now Leave a Trace. So you can see a bit on the right, it's a kind of cutout that in a more intimate space, someone can draw, write a sentence, or share their experience, what this exhibition had brought up. And as I told you, there are also this thought behind that it won't be immediately shared, but kind of curated, and within a reasonable amount of time, it will be published as a virtual kind of post-it board. So that's actually how you step out, and we hope there will be, you know, this spark, and actually we consider symbolically it's kind of a path, a walk towards light, like justice, and, you know, if we hope the visitor would feel relieved, and that's actually a kind of tool to help that. Please, the next slide. So that's my proud students with their certificates. And actually, so, you know, everyone who's like an outreach officer at the library, at the reception desk, even the 2 IT persons, they heroically participated in a training in English, so that was sometimes a challenge. I haven't learned Khmer, as I haven't learned yet Bahasa Indonesia, but I think we could really go through what will be the aim and how, you know, the double challenge is to be accurate, so know all the data part, but also to be able to resonate and to share personal knowledge. So there's this double challenge, how to be punctual, scientifically accurate, but also to be present as a person. And I think, you know, it was a challenge where they could really found their space. Please, the next. So that's the Zoom call I told you about. So actually I asked them, actually that was the past, this judge testimonial and how a judge presents these stations and the extraordinary chambers functions, and also actually inviting for the resource center. Please, the next. So I'm just showing you, it's really, you know, like work pictures. So now this space is still being built. So these are kind of sneak peeks I took, you know. It's now the emblem will be, or already had been painted there. And I'm just showing you as the last, that they are really nearly ready to welcome you and us back there. So thank you very much, and I'm kindly waiting for your questions.
Okay, so thank you so much for the presentation, Berbala. And so to summarize, in Berbala's presentation, we learned a lot about how museums can be a powerful tool, powerful space to heal the society, to bridge conversations, to talk about all these difficult histories and traumas we have in the past. And it can only be done through a well-designed public programs that are sensitive and accommodate spaces for everyone's voice, for different voices. And next, we will welcome our second speaker, Ninjani from Museum Macan. So a little bit about her profile. She is currently the curatorial manager and head of education. And if you have been to Museum Macan before, there have been a lot of temporary exhibitions inviting artists from abroad as well as from Indonesia. And her most recent projects are a solo exhibition by Thai artist Korakrit Arun Danoncai, and also a solo exhibition by an Australian artist, Patricia Piccinini. But these are only two of so many projects that she's done in the past, and here she would share with us how she implement public programs in practice at her museum, and how she uses public programs as a tool to bridge collaborations between museums, artists, communities, and so many different stakeholders and so many different stakeholders. Anyway, so please welcome Ninjani.
Selamat pagi Bapak Ibu, apakah suaranya terdengar jelas? Oke. Selamat siang, terima kasih koreksinya. Terima kasih untuk perkenalannya. Salam kenal sekali lagi, saya Ninjani dari Museum Macan. Saya akan menyampaikan presentasi ini dalam bahasa Indonesia. Hari ini presentasi saya akan membahas public program sebagai salah satu pendekatan untuk membuat co-creative museum. Apa itu co-creative museum? Sebenarnya judul ini saya terinspirasi dari tema Simak Conference di tahun 2023. Simak adalah konferensi museum seni internasional yang berlangsung setiap tahun. Dan pada tahun itu mereka mengangkat tema co-creative museum untuk membahas soal social agency, etika, dan juga heritage dari praktek-praktek museum di hari ini. Jadi sebenarnya apa itu co-creative museum? Selama kurang lebih 15 hingga 20 menit ke depan, saya akan berusaha mengeksplorasi pertanyaan-pertanyaan ini dalam kerangka program publik yang ada di Museum Macan. Nah, boleh slide berikutnya? Nah, jadi sebenarnya mungkin sebelum kita membahas co-creative museum, kita kembali dulu ke pertanyaan yang paling mendasar. Sebenarnya apa sih peran sosial dari museum, dan ini tadi sudah dibahas juga di sesi yang pagi tadi, dan jadi bagaimana museum itu sebenarnya punya peran sosial, dan juga bagaimana museum bisa berfungsi sebagai third space atau ruang ketiga setelah rumah dan juga ruang bekerja dalam komunitas yang diwakilinya begitu. Nah, ada dua konteks yang sebenarnya melatar belakangi praktik kami di Museum Macan. Yaitu yang pertama, ketika kami mendirikan museum ini, kami menyadari bahwa ternyata ada ketimpangan akses terhadap seni dan juga pendidikan seni di Indonesia, khususnya di Jakarta. Dan juga ada permintaan yang meningkat setiap tahunnya untuk adanya ruang-ruang alternatif di luar mall perbelanjaan yang bisa mengakomodasi bertumbuhnya komunitas gitu atau sosial interaksi gitu. Nah, slide berikutnya. Nah, sebelum itu saya ingin memperkenalkan secara singkat tentang Museum Macan. Museum Macan adalah singkatan dari Museum of Modern and Contemporary Art in Nusantara. Dan kami adalah museum swasta yang berbasis di Kebonjeruk, Jakarta Barat, di mana kami menghuni satu lantai di sebuah gedung perkantoran, dan itu adalah alasan kenapa pameran-pameran di Museum Macan itu sifatnya temporer begitu. Kami juga bisa dibilang masih sangat muda. Kami baru dibuka di tahun 2017 dan sejak dibuka memang pendidikan adalah misi utama dari Museum Macan itu sendiri. Di mana kami punya misi untuk mendekatkan seni dan juga pendidikan seni kepada publik. Dan itu alasan mengapa sejak awal berdiri Museum Macan memiliki tim khusus yang memang didedikasikan untuk edukasi dan juga program publik. Jumlahnya ada 5 orang termasuk saya sendiri, dan dengan berlima ini sebenarnya menjadi salah satu departemen terbesar di museumnya juga begitu. Jadi memang kami bisa dibilang tim yang cukup kecil. Nah, slide berikutnya. Nah, di Museum Macan kami percaya bahwa museum bisa berfungsi sebagai active agent atau agen yang aktif untuk membantu atau membentuk untuk menjembatani seni sebagai salah satu medium pembentukan pengetahuan begitu. Nah, jadi kami berangkat dari pertanyaan-pertanyaan apa peran seniman dan juga peran seni dalam pendidikan secara umumnya. Lalu apa juga ketika kita bicara soal pendidikan di museum, apa yang sebenarnya kita maksud dengan istilah itu gitu, pendidikan dalam museum. Dan bagaimana museum bisa menjadi pemantik untuk memberikan inovasi-inovasi terbaru di bidang pendidikan. Dan juga tentunya sesuai dengan tema di hari ini, bagaimana museum bisa membina hubungan-hubungan yang kolaboratif bersama seniman, bersama pihak-pihak swasta lainnya, pihak pemerintah dan juga komunitas-komunitas lokal dalam konteks-konteks seperti ini begitu. Nah, jadi di luar program pameran dan juga resource museum yang kami ciptakan, sebenarnya program publik di sini juga menjadi jantung penting atau intisari dari pendekatan kami untuk menjawab pertanyaan-pertanyaan tadi. Dan makanya program Museum Macan sebenarnya memang by nature atau secara alami itu sudah diarahkan untuk mengembangkan kolaborasi dan juga kemitraan dengan partner-partner kami. Nah, slide berikutnya. Nah, jadi terkait program publik itu sendiri, di luar program-program kunjungan sekolah, sebenarnya kurang lebih dalam 1 tahun kami melaksanakan 40 program publik yang mencakup ada talk show, ada workshop, ada storytelling, tur-tur tematik, live performance, dan juga program-program yang sifatnya dibentuk oleh komunitas. Dan kami menyadari bahwa mungkin jumlah 40 setahun itu tidak terlalu banyak gitu kan, berarti artinya dalam 1 bulan mungkin kami menjalankan 2 hingga 3 program saja. Tapi dari jumlah ini sebenarnya cukup efektif untuk mengembangkan audiens dan juga untuk mengembangkan partnership yang lebih strategik juga. Dan lebih penting lagi dengan jumlah program publik seperti ini sebenarnya juga angka yang sehat mengingat ukuran dari tim di museum dan juga jumlah program pameran yang berlangsung ada di museum itu sendiri begitu. Nah, sekarang saya ada 3 case study yang ingin saya bagikan kepada Bapak Ibu. Yang pertama, boleh slide selanjutnya. Oke, nah yang pertama ini adalah ketika saya bicara soal audience development atau pengembangan audiens, sebenarnya tujuan utamanya adalah membawa dan juga melibatkan komunitas-komunitas baru begitu. Dan komunitas baru ini adalah audiens yang di luar dari, kalau dalam konteksnya Macan, di luar dari masyarakat seni pada umumnya, yang mungkin tidak secara umum mereka akan langsung datang ke museum, tapi sebenarnya mereka audiens yang cukup potensial untuk kita ajak kolaborasi gitu atau ajak ke museum gitu. Nah, di sini kami mengundang podcast Malam Kliwon. Jadi podcast Malam Kliwon ini sebenarnya mereka adalah podcast horor yang cukup besar dan cukup populer, di mana biasanya orang-orang itu bisa mengirim cerita yang nanti akan dibacakan oleh hostnya. Dan mereka cukup besar komunitasnya secara online, mereka ada di kanal-kanal YouTube, di Spotify, dan juga di kanal-kanal lainnya. Dan pada bulan Februari yang lalu kami mengundang mereka untuk mengadakan live recording di Museum Macan. Jadi mereka membacakan cerita-cerita horornya itu di museum. Dan ini juga memang dikembangkan sebagai bagian dari program publiknya pameran seniman Thailand, Korakrit Aruna Noncai, yang memang pameran itu mengeksplorasi soal storytelling soal multiverse, soal hubungan kita dengan roh-roh di sekitar kita begitu. Jadi memang ada hubungan spiritualitas di situ dan juga terinspirasi dari budaya di Thailand yaitu bioskop hantu. Nah, bioskop hantu itu biasanya memang semacam misbar gitu kalau di Indonesia, di mana yang uniknya mereka akan sengaja mengosongkan satu baris di paling depan yang mereka tujukan untuk ini roh-roh dan spirit-spirit itu mereka diduduknya di sana gitu. Nah, jadi memang sebenarnya secara program itu program podcast Malam Kliwon ini cocok gitu untuk mengisi program publik di pameran ini. Jadi memang programnya dirancang tidak sembarang untuk mengundang banyak orang ke museum begitu, tapi ada pertimbangan kuratorial juga di situ. Nah, untuk membuat pengalaman ini lebih unik lagi, kami mengadakan acaranya di malam hari, jadi setelah museumnya tutup. Jadi biasanya kami tutup jam 6, tapi khusus untuk hari itu galerinya dibuka sampai dengan jam 7 malam. Jadi audiens yang datang mereka bisa jalan-jalan dulu, lihat karya sampai jam 7. Lalu jam 8 kami mulai acara recordingnya sampai dengan jam 11 gitu. Nah, jadi ini juga ada pengalaman unik bermalam di museum gitu kan, night at the museum. Dan ternyata acaranya yang kami kira hanya untuk mungkin mengundang sekitar 75 orang gitu, menarik 75 orang, ternyata cukup sukses karena hampir 200 orang datang dan ini menjadi acara terbesar bagi podcast Malam Kliwon dan juga bagi Museum Macan untuk kategori talk show begitu. Dan sebagian besar dari audiens ini mereka belum pernah ke Macan gitu dan mereka tahu museumnya, mereka pengen ke sana tapi memang sampai dengan saat itu belum ada dorongan untuk benar-benar datang. Jadi sebenarnya bisa dibilang acara ini juga sebentuk kemitraan yang dengan sukses mendorong orang untuk akhirnya mau berkunjung ke museum gitu. Dan selain itu, selain acaranya kami juga bekerja sama dengan recording streaming platform untuk mendokumentasikan acara ini dan juga menyiarkannya setelah acara berlangsung di kanal mereka. Jadi ini juga menjadi bentuk kolaborasi lainnya untuk tadi kan kita membahas soal dokumentasi begitu dan bagaimana dokumentasi dan pengarsipan ini juga menjadi aspek penting dalam kolaborasi dan partnership gitu. Jadi setelah acaranya selesai masih ada arsipnya secara online yang bisa diakses kembali gitu. Mungkin boleh di play videonya untuk dapat kalau bisa diputar videonya. Play nggak ya? Oh, nggak bisa ya, kayak ya udah nggak apa-apa. Kalau gitu next slide mungkin. Nah, berikutnya kalau tadi bentuknya talk show, ini sekarang saya akan membahas program publik yang bentuknya thematic tour begitu. Di Museum Macan kami percaya sekali lagi bahwa seni itu bisa menjadi portal atau pintu masuk untuk membahas isu-isu penting lainnya seperti misalnya sejarah, politik, sains dan juga tentunya bahasan yang sangat penting sekarang adalah krisis iklim. Nah, di sini kolaborasi menjadi aspek yang sangat penting karena kami bisa melibatkan ahli-ahli dari bidang-bidang lainnya gitu di luar seni rupa. Nah, saat pameran tahun lalu, saat pamerannya Patricia Piccinini, kami yang prakteknya itu memang mengeksplorasi hubungan antara manusia, alam dan juga teknologi, di mana Patricia menciptakan patung-patung karakter hibrid gitu yang menggabungkan manusia dengan hewan. Kami mengundang Animalium Brin untuk mengadakan sesi tour di museum. Nah, mungkin Animalium Brin ini adalah pusat riset atau pusat penelitian di bawah Badan Riset dan Inovasi Nasional yang memang berfokus pada animal science. Dan dalam sesi ini kami bersama Animalium yang punya program Kenal Satwa, itu kami mengadakan perayaan Hari Anak di museum dengan mengundang anak-anak untuk mengadakan untuk tur keliling di museum dan kami mengundang edukator-edukator dari Animalium untuk menjelaskan hewan-hewan yang menginspirasi Patricia menciptakan patungnya dan juga konteks biodiversity dan krisis-krisis yang dialami oleh hewan-hewan ini gitu dan ini menjadi sarana pembelajaran anak-anak yang cukup efektif dan cukup menyenangkan karena mereka nggak hanya jalan di museum dan mengenal karya seni tapi juga belajar sains di sini dan kami juga sebagai tim edukator di museum juga jadi belajar juga dari institusi lain bagaimana mereka mengatur program-program anak dan bagaimana mereka menjalankan sesi-sesi turnya gitu. Dan juga kami juga tentunya belajar lebih dalam lagi tentang hewan-hewan dan juga tentang biodiversity gitu. Jadi ini juga salah satu bentuk program dan kerjasama yang menarik dengan antara institusi swasta dan juga pemerintah begitu. Nah, slide berikutnya. Nah, slide berikutnya ini adalah salah satu program yang program publik terbesar yang pernah kami lakukan sampai dengan saat ini, dan ini juga melibatkan tidak hanya satu partner. Kalau di program publik yang dua yang tadi kan rata-rata hanya satu partner saja, tapi di sini melibatkan banyak sekali partner-partner kolaborator dan juga proses kerjasamanya cukup panjang, kurang lebih 6 bulan begitu untuk persiapannya. Nah, Constellation ini adalah sebuah performance live theater yang saat itu berlangsung selama 4 hari. Pada bulan Desember 2024, ini adalah pertunjukan live theater pertama di Museum Macan. Dan juga ini juga dilaksanakan sebagai salah satu bagian dari program publiknya Korakrit Aruna Nonca yang tadi lagi-lagi membahas hubungan tentang storytelling, tentang sinema, dan juga mengangkat tema-tema seputar hidup, seputar cinta dan juga duka. Jadi memang kami mencari story atau naskah yang mengangkat tema-tema tersebut juga begitu. Dan sebenarnya kenapa kami ingin membuat teater di museum itu ketika kerangka kuratorial pamerannya Korakrit mulai terbentuk, kami melihat sepertinya menghadirkan teater di museum ini akan menjadi suatu pengalaman yang menarik begitu. Dan kenapa bukan film? Karena karya-karya Korakrit sudah berupa film-film pendek. Jadi kan kalau karyanya misalnya acara programnya screening lagi kan mungkin terlalu berlebih gitu, terlalu banyak. Dan jadi kami menghadirkan experience yang lain dan juga teater ini kan juga salah satu art form atau bentuk seni tertua dari storytelling begitu. Nah, jauh sebelum film itu ada begitu. Jadi kenapa teater itu terjawab di situ. Nah, tentunya dengan menyadari space museum yang cukup terbatas dan bukan berbentuk teater, ini juga menjadi tantangan awal untuk mencari kira-kira grup teater mana yang mau terlibat dalam produksi ini. Dan disinilah kami menemukan Teater Pandora. Teater Pandora ini adalah komunitas teater lokal berbasis di Jakarta yang memang dari awal itu mereka pentas selalu di tempat-tempat alternatif, mulai dari bar, dari lapangan parkir, dari restoran, gedung kantor, galeri pun juga pernah mereka respon begitu. Dan mereka memang terkenal dengan program mempermainkan ruang begitu. Nah, jadi kami rasa ini grup teater yang cocok dan mungkin tertarik untuk merespon area di museum. Dan ketika kami menyampaikan ide ini ke mereka, ternyata mereka pun juga sedang mencari venue atau mencari tempat untuk merayakan 10 tahun berdirinya Teater Pandora. Jadi dari awal memang ternyata syukur-syukur masuk gitu, jodoh gitu kan kami berdua. Nah, tapi di situ juga ada tantangan lain. Tentunya dengan ambisi yang besar, tantangannya juga menjadi besar, terutama dalam segi funding dan dalam segi manpower. Nah, jadi di situ kami mencari kolaborator lain yang bisa membantu berjalannya program ini. Nah, yang pertama itu kami menghubungi SAE Institute. Ini adalah sebuah kampus kreatif media di Jakarta yang juga menjadi partner Museum Macan dari sejak lama. Dan ketika kami menyampaikan maksud ke SAE Institute untuk mengadakan teater ini, mereka juga dengan sangat semangat menyambutnya gitu. Mereka melihat ini adalah kesempatan untuk memberikan pengalaman kerja praktek bagi mahasiswa-mahasiswa mereka, dan juga mereka dengan sangat berbaik hati menyediakan studio-studio di kampusnya sebagai ruang latihan, ruang rekaman untuk para aktor berlatih di situ. Jadi di situ kami bisa dibilang menghemat biaya untuk menyewa studio latihan, terus juga untuk dan secara nggak langsung memberikan kesempatan kolaborasi antara mahasiswa, profesional dan juga institusi begitu. Nah, jadi untuk pencari volunteer, untuk mencari tenaga kerja di bidang yang bisa membantu di lapangan, itu satu masalah terpecahkan. Nah, yang kedua, saat itu kan ketika kami merancang ini juga tim di museum, tim desain dan komunikasinya sedang kewalahan juga untuk mempersiapkan pameran yang berlangsung. Nah, jadi saat itu kami juga mencari kira-kira ada yang bisa mensupport untuk membantu desain atau komunikasi nggak ya gitu. Dan di situ kami menemukan Kun Studio, sebuah studio kreatif di Jakarta juga yang isinya anak-anak muda dan mereka juga punya pengalaman untuk promosi film, dan mereka juga sangat tertarik untuk membantu penciptaan materi-materi desain dan juga materi promosional untuk mengkomunikasikan teater ini gitu. Lalu yang terakhir, karena kami dan Teater Pandora punya kesamaan misi untuk mendukung pendidikan yang eksklusif, pendidikan yang inklusif dan juga akses untuk teman-teman disabilitas. Dari awal program ini terencana kami merancangnya untuk bisa juga diakses oleh teman-teman tuli. Nah, dan kebetulan Museum Macan juga sudah punya partner silang yang berkolaborasi bersama kami untuk membuat guide dalam bahasa isyarat, dan kami mengajak teman-teman silang untuk juga berpartisipasi sebagai juru bahasa isyarat pada pementasan live di museum gitu. Jadi selain teaternya itu ada dialognya, juga ada juru bahasa isyarat yang mereka mengisyaratkan untuk teman-teman atau audiens yang tuli juga. Dan di situ terlihat sekali banyak kolaborasi lintas departemen, lintas institusi dan lintas keahlian yang terjadi. Dan di sini juga membuktikan bahwa ternyata ini juga menjadi salah satu, ini tuh mungkin kok gitu. Jadi ketika kita tadi mungkin membahas soal CSR, soal kolaborasi, ini sebenarnya bisa sekali diimplementasikan di program publik begitu. Dan mungkin boleh sambil diputar videonya kalau bisa. Dan ternyata responnya juga positif. Di hari itu selama 4 hari pertunjukan kami mendatangkan kurang lebih 800 audiens yang termasuk ada selebriti, ada aktor, aktris terkenal yang ikut datang, dan mereka akhirnya juga mengendorse atau mempost konten video ini, konten teaternya di sosial media mereka. Jadi secara publisitas juga syukur-syukur kami mendapatkan publisitas yang baik, dan juga tentunya menekan biaya juga gitu untuk di-endorse oleh seleb-seleb ini begitu. Nah, kayak susah ya. Ya udah kalau gitu next slide aja. Nah, jadi untuk menutup presentasinya, mungkin saya mau mengutip kutipan dari Nina Simon, bukunya The Participatory Museum, itu menginspirasi saya saat mahasiswa untuk akhirnya terjun ke ranah museum ini. Dan di situ Nina mengatakan bahwa ketika kita bisa menciptakan ruang yang aman, ruang yang nyaman untuk masyarakat itu bertemu orang baru, untuk mereka bertukar pikiran dan menjadi kreatif, sebenarnya di situ kita bisa punya cultural impact atau dampak kultural yang sangat besar. Dan dengan menciptakan museum sebagai ruang-ruang ini, sebenarnya kalau secara jangka panjang itu bahkan mungkin bisa mengubah dunia begitu. Jadi dari program publik itu sebenarnya hanya menjadi salah satu langkah kecil yang ternyata dampaknya bisa menjadi sangat besar gitu. Nah, jadi mungkin itu yang bisa saya simpulkan dan mungkin bisa kita renungi bersama sebagai pelaku-pelaku museum di Indonesia. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you so much, Nin. And what you really shared there, it really shows just how museum collections, or even just one artwork, it can become a powerful starting point for different kinds of public programs. And when these programs are developed in such creative and multidisciplinary ways, they can open up space with collaborations, as shown by the presentation. And it is a great reminder for all of us that museum work and public programs don't always have to work. I mean, it don't work in isolation, but it can happen in a collective manner. So may I please invite Borbala and Nin back into the stage for one closing statement, one closing question, I mean. Okay, so since we're very short on time, I just have one question that may apply to both of you. So since we're here talking about museum partnerships and dealing with different stakeholders with different expectations and needs, obviously we as curators and public program specialists, we all have our own visions, right? But when we're dealing with them, we're faced with different expectations, different political needs, and also sometimes it may align, and other times it may even be competing against each other, right? So let's say in Borbala's case, there might, when we're talking about trauma and difficult history, there might be different political perspectives as to the way someone's view one history, and also how one person may feel about presenting such a sensitive history in museum. And also in Nin's case, we could see that with working with all these different stakeholders, sometimes balancing the goals of a private institution broader public engagement, there needs to be like, we need to make compromise or adjustments to ensure that all the goals and objectives from our institution and their institution can meet in the middle. So my question is, in your experience, how do you usually manage to find that middle ground, and how do you manage to stay true to your vision while navigating all these different pressures and perspectives? Yes.
It works. So actually, you know, I was not a curator at this exhibition. I received kind of a set concept in this case, and also, so the exhibition is another story, and I was kind of like, my role is translation, interpretation. So actually, with these tools of theater and storytelling, we were talking about storytelling, I think I rather had the curiosity, you know, I'm an outsider, not from this culture of that country, but it was an intriguing thing for me, and I was kind of led of my personal curiosity, which I hope was also a professional approach after having studied what I could read online. And I invite you all, please, if you have this curiosity, please visit the archives, so the ECCC Gov Cambodia site, because it's a fascinating archive and as the entrance point for the resource center. So I think, to answering your question, I think already the choice of being here is like a personal choice, so you can never be like neutral, no? So what is this scientific neutrality? But of course I didn't have here at least this way that I would kind of overpresent my lecture, but I invited, actually, I thought it was a kind of collective creation, what we created as Path, as actually commenting, you know, these stations of the legal procedures. And by this, actually, it's a kind of an invitation for personal interpretations. And I think, I don't know what you think, but I think museum, as we consider it also like art, so art of curating, it's rather asking questions, no? That's why I like Machan. So, you know, we are not we are not opening a can of conserve, you know, that, oh, we have the answers and let me share with you 1, 2, 3, these are my answers. But we are inviting for questions, for interpretations. And I hope this space will be like a space of community where someone can revisit. There would be, I hope it will be really filled with life, as Machan is, so with eventually musical performances. Let me also promote you, there's this, I think it's like 6 episodes online on YouTube. It's called My Story. And actually, there's a short curated part which will be of this exhibition. So I had the chance of not being there alone. And, you know, I kind of edited like an editor of an oeuvre. So I think that can be an approach. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Babala.
I think in my experience, just like what we talk in the morning, it's very important to find a collaborator who shares your vision as well. So it's important to be very intentional about what is the objective of the program and what you hope to achieve with the program. And then it helps when you are clear with your intention, it helps to curate or narrow down the potential collaborators. And then just opening up to them about your intention, and then ask if it's something that they'd be interested in. And just like in any relationships, it's also about compromise. So whenever there's some like a disagreement, or whenever there's like an issue, yeah, it's always good to be clear up front, so that everyone is on the same page at all times. And it also helps to have regular coordination meetings and also planning. So planning is also very, very important in this stage, so that everyone is always updated, and when there's like potential crisis or potential issues, it can be mitigated effectively and as soon as it happens. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. So compromise, communication, and understanding. Just like how we relate to people, basically, right? Just in a bigger scale.
Yes, because it's there's a public and public program, so you know it's about like maintaining that relationship.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. So since we have very limited time, we have the spot for just one question. Okay, so
Terima kasih sebelumnya. Saya mengulang bahasa Indonesia saja ya. Nama saya Rizky, saya mau bertanya, bagaimanakah batasan-batasan dan etika khususnya etika permusiuman untuk pameran mengenai pengadilan bagi korban di Kamboja, yaitu korban genosida, untuk para pengunjung khususnya pengunjung remaja dan anak-anak, untuk Miss Berbola ya. Dan bagaimanakah parameter atau pembatasan dan fungsi seni dan pertunjukan seni bagi pengunjung atau para proses seni baik dewasa, remaja maupun anak-anak di museum yang mungkin bisa direkomendasikan untuk Mbak Ninjani dalam undang RUU Permusiuman baik untuk museum umum atau juga museum khusus yang sudah masuk naskah akademik pasal 6 RUU Permusiuman. Terima kasih.
Oke, mungkin yang untuk Borbala bisa diulangi sekali lagi karena bisa diterjemahkan. Or Borbala, did you get the question? Oke, yeah.
Oke. Bagaimanakah batasan-batasan dan etika, khususnya etika permusiuman untuk pameran mengenai pengadilan korban di Kamboja, yaitu korban genosida, untuk para pengunjung, khususnya pengunjung remaja dan anak-anak. Gitu.
Oke, terima kasih. So we have two questions, so one for Borbala and one in Nin. So I think Nin can answer in Bahasa Indonesia. And for Borbala, so he was asking about. Thank you for the question. So he was. So our attendant was asking about whether about if there's any, and if what are the limitations, and if there's any limitations in terms of museum ethics in Cambodia to presenting human rights and genocide issues in museum, especially when you're presenting it to children and teenagers.
So if you have been to Cambodia, you can see how graphic everywhere. You have kind of comic-like presentations, actually also on the Khmer Rouge era. So already, without this planned exhibition space, you already have lots of visuals. Actually, I could have added to my slides. When you go to these killing caves, you have like super plastic things actually about torture. So I think, I don't know how it's related to human rights, but me as a visitor, for me it's like shocking. You have like a big pot, and there are persons in it, and it's, it's like a sculpture, and it's like, boiling. So, you have this cruelty of presentation, and actually you have what I mentioned to you, this comic. So I'm not talking about this planned exhibitions place, but what is the visual, if you walk around Cambodia. And for example, there's one space which is explained, that how bicycles were confiscated or the events, and even, mentioning anti-cannibalism. So, you live in this environment, so you already you are in this context. And actually, I think this project, why it's nice and why I think it's important, and I'm really grateful that I could present it, because it's kind of adding to these layers. So, you had Antina actually, but I don't want to get into that, but you would kind of debate already the notion of genocide, because genocide meaning, other ethnies. So that could be true for like Cham Muslim or the Vietnamese, but actually Khmer, killing Khmer is like mass atrocity, or, you can go to this terminology. But I think it's important, so you have to, for communication, you have to think it's a partner. And I think for children, of course, if it's like something omnipresent, children, they say you communicate, even a mom communicates, why the child has not yet been born, but you are with, why the 9 months waiting for the child. It's already communication. So it's, more than 80% is nonverbal communication. So of course it's something, you can feel it, you can have this feeling. And I think it's very nice. It's a power to give words, no? Once it's not a secret, it's not a taboo. Actually, it's a power because we can talk about it. That's one of my favorite museums is Machan, asking questions, daring, proposing, visuals, and even sometimes you can't explain by words, but you have art, contemporary art. There was a superb Cambodian artist some years ago, which it was a collaborative art, so even I think that would be a wonderful children project that you could just choose an object, how you would describe, let, these heart feelings go or to find a shape. So I think we don't have to be afraid of course there are it's not an accident that you have these age limits, but I think, you can, of course, take children seriously and your public. So I think this is maybe a not so short answer. And I forgot to mention, and I think it's really important for outreach, so we will have this museum exhibition space, but there's also what was mentioned before, this bus. So they have a kind of mobile unit, which is like these outreach officers actually kind of touring around, and there's this dialogue proposed. There's something like a kind of comic, actually it's a leaflet of 4 pages, accessible at least 3 languages, English, French, and Khmer, which is explained to children. So it's very basic, and this approach, actually there's a grandma telling, yes, there were hard years, in my youth, and let me share that with you. So I think it's very important that you don't have, less secrets you have, less this weight of, something like an unshaped monster living in the cupboard. So I think that's kind of my message. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Berbala and Nin. So since we're now at the end of the session, I mean, if any of the audience would like to ask questions directly to Berbala and Nin, please feel free to do so after the session. And now, since we're running out of time, I would like to close this session. And I would also like to ask our speakers again. So if you could summarize the importance of collaborating between stakeholders in the context of museum in one sentence, what message would you say to the audience?
I think I would summarize collaboration as making a museum as a space for the people, by the people, and with the people.
I mentioned before, I think a museum space is like a gate. So in this case, for these extraordinary chambers in the court of Cambodia, it's a gate to this resource center. So I hope collaboration, I haven't mentioned academia, there are specific studies related to that. So actually it's I hope generations could gain access, so we give access, and they could, take lessons from that. And I think that's the message, that there's an invitation, and, you can go there. You can also, I think it's very important for museums that it's not only the physical visit. So, of course, that's, kind of the crown jewel of this museum experience, but there's also, before you go, you can study, and after you go, you can, for example, see that film, you can have more reflections, you can read more. So I think, it's kind of like a friend. Let's consider museum as a friend that you can turn to for knowledge, for encouragement. So I hope that can be the message.
Thank you. Museum as a friend, that's an interesting choice. Okay, so I would like to pass on the mic back to our MC for the next session.
Okay, thank you very much to Ibu Sabila, Ibu Ninjani, and also Mr. Burbola for the insightful and inspiring sessions for this study case presentation. And also, we are honored to invite Bapak Thomas and Ibu Deda, because we have to take photos together on the stage. Can you please standing? Yes. Okay. Maybe Ibu Nova, can you please join with us? Ibu Nusi? Di mana Pak Budi ya? Oh ya, baik, ke atas. Ya, baik panitia bisa dibantu untuk berfoto bersama. Ya, seperti tadi Ibu, mohon izin. Oke, baik. Oke, 1. Mbak Nova. Bisa di samping Bapak Thomas atau Ibu Deda? Iya, baik. Dalam hitungan ke 3, 2, 1. Okay, one more time. Can you give please. Salam museum. Alright. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you so much. Thank you, terima kasih Bapak dan Ibu semuanya. Diharapkan bisa dapat kembali ke tempat duduk. Baik Bapak Ibu hadirin sekalian. Oke. Baik Bapak Ibu hadirin, memang yang materinya sangat-sangat menarik pada hari ini sampai kita tidak terasa sudah menunjukkan pukul 12 dan saatnya kita mengakhiri sesi kali ini. Dan terima kasih kepada para peserta yang hadir secara webinar. Terima kasih sudah bergabung sampai akhir acara dan sampai jumpa untuk para peserta yang di webinar dan sampai bertemu di webinar selanjutnya. Dan kepada Bapak Ibu yang hadir di Museum Nasional Indonesia, kita akan kembali pada waktu 13.30 atau setengah 2 untuk Bapak-Bapak yang sholat Jumat. Untuk masjid terdekatnya ada di sebelah di Kementerian Komdigi. Dan juga Bapak dan Ibu bisa menikmati Museum Nasional Indonesia dan makan siang yang sudah kami sediakan di luar. Dan sampai bertemu di jam setengah 2. Sampai jumpa. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.